Well, happy Thursday, everyone. This is JoJo Bennington, and this is the Empowering Healthy Women 30-minute weekly get together. So happy to have all of you here. And quick overview, just so everyone knows what in the heck we are doing here. So I don't. Do you believe that this is week 21? Can you imagine that we've been doing this for 21 weeks? So 22 weeks ago, my amazing partner in crime, Miss Lady Plum, we were chatting about how the women around us possibly could be more supported. So we decided to create this fun little call every week just to check in and talk about girl stuff that the guys don't really care about too much and don't want to hear too much, and that's okay because we have our little girl posse to talk about mammograms and menopause and all the stuff in between, and our crazy mindset and the monkeys that run around in our brain and all kinds of different fun stuff that the guys just think we're crazy when we get together and do. So that's what we are here for. And so 30 minutes to check in, get comfy, have a little bit of an estrogen fest, and that's the whole plan. And so happy to see all of you here. And I know the community is growing, and thank you all for sharing that. And if you aren't on the Facebook page, but you are on Facebook, then please go to the Empowering Healthy Women page and join. And anyway, let's roll. So talking about flu. Anybody had the flu this year? Been sick? Or some nasty bugs going on out there. And so someone asked us to talk about it. And, I don't know, do you guys know this, but like there's way more going into this flu thing and this sick thing than just having somebody like sneeze on you and you catch a little bit of a bug. No question that stress and bad food and inflammation and oh my gosh, antibiotic resistance. There's all kinds of things out there that are feeding into this flu thing that's going on, and it's not getting better. It's not getting better. And so just so everybody knows right up front, I work with an amazing health and wellness company. Liddy is my partner there, and we are not here to like do a product sell. That is not the point. But when we know of things that are going to benefit you in a certain way, it's silly for us not to share them with you. So the point of this is not to go here, buy our stuff. The point of this is to let you know that there are things out there that can benefit you. And maybe inside of your realm of health, you can find these ingredients, you can find these things that will support you. And if they do, that's great. And if you ever want to know more about what we do, then that's okay too. Either way, it's just to let you know that we're going to support you any way that we can. And sometimes that's going to be with some knowledge that we know on products. And so, Liddy, I'm just going to kind of let you hop in and talk sneezing and coughing and snotty noses and stuff like that. And tell us what we can do to help protect ourselves.
So thank you, JoJo. And I think that, in terms of this opportunity is to kind of like build that called community, a support community. And I know that each and every one of us, what we do in our own home matters. And when we think about like taking our children and putting them into the school systems and then they come back home and then we are exposed, right? So the question is, be it, a grandparent, being exposed. And sometimes we think about like just going to see our elders and they're in a nursing home. And so then there's like quarantines, like you can't go see them. And then there's schools that are being closed because of the fact that there's this epidemic that's happening and all the things that are starting to happen. We just realize that, we're kind of like having to be careful about where we are in society, and that there's really the real world is your inner world. The real world is like what's happening inside, and that there's a battle that goes on, and our body really wants to be strong. Its intention is to be standing in its superiority, not inferiority. And when we are standing in that space, we feel great. we have good energy, we have good vibes, as I say. And we know that children in, being in systems today, that they simply, get classified. They get classified, they get bullied. And, those places are because they just don't feel good. They can't think clearly. And so, I have just this great passion, even for my own children, and not really realizing that I was going to be encountered with some challenges along the way with our own children, but it certainly was a wake up call for me. So I believe that in all things, that all challenges are opportunities. And if we embrace it, we can erase it. And if we resist it, it will persist. So maybe Jojo, just talking a little bit about the immune system. There's fighter T cells and fighter B cells, and the body has a mechanism, has a system set up, and the system that's set up, like if this is the invader, then it has a mechanism to actually go and engulf the invader. It simply immediately says foreign matter. And when that happens, this is a phagocyte, and it sends a message to the other part of the body that says, hey, fighter T cells, B cells, come blow holes behind this thing. Blow this apart so that we can abort it from the body. Well, if there's not enough fighter T cells and B cells, here's what happens. It grows and grows and grows and grows until all of a sudden you've got what is called a full-blown war. That's the flu. That's the sinus overtake. That's the manifestation of the enemy winning. So then the question is, where do you start with this conversation? So, Jojo, I think maybe we want to talk a little bit about what is a probiotic, and, what is your first line of defense? And if you have a first line of defense, and if we take an antibiotic, what happens to your first line of defense? So if you're destroying your army, you got your front line laying dead. So, the stampede can just, run rampant. So I think that as we realize that I didn't know, I had no clue that there was such a thing as probiotics, and when the doctor would say ear infections, sinus infections, got stuff going on, and then they would recommend, an antibiotic. Well, when somebody said to me, Liddy, did you actually have your children have a blood test run before you gave them the antibiotic? And I said, no, they never they just did a throat culture. They didn't take blood work. They just did a throat culture. And then they wrote up this, prescription. So I said, what do you mean? They said, well, until you do the blood work, you can't tell if it's a bacteria or a fungus or a viral invader. And if it actually is a invader of a bacteria, antibiotics kill bacteria. But guess what? Nothing else. And I went, oh, wow. So I'm kind of walking into this thing kind of blindly. And then they raised the bar one more time and said, well, let's have a discussion about antibiotics and what's really going on here. If in fact it is a bacteria and you have a friendly bacteria in your colon, and that's your army, and it kills bacteria, it does not know the distinction between good guys or bad guys. Kills bacteria. Now, they say that right now that they can actually take the fecal matter of a college student and they can identify which one was breastfed and which one was bottle fed. And what they do is they look at the amount of bacteria, friendly bacteria, that is predominant in that space and in that fecal matter, and they know which one's got a stronger immune system. Oh my goodness. So here it is that you think that, what you do in the very beginning doesn't matter. And the truth of the matter is, if you can encourage nursing, breastfeeding, I just say, and then the mom to be strong and healthy. And, I had to quit nursing one of our children when he was 4 months old. Why? Because I had candida and I didn't even know what that was. So I thought I was going to a seminar to hear what was coming from Canada. In fact, I'm telling you this because I was kind of like feeling like this loser mom. I didn't know what to do with my children. And, they didn't come with instructions. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, they're talking about me. And I was diagnosed with arthritis and, a very aggressive rheumatoid arthritic condition. And all of a sudden they were talking about me. And when I started to address that condition, guess what? They put me on antibiotics because of that. And I'm like, I'm losing my battle. And that's when I just said, I just got to get stronger. I just really have to know this stuff. And so, Jojo, I just think that, so many of us really wish that we knew and just really wish that somebody would have told us. And that was one of the reasons why we said, well, let's put it out there. Let's tell, if these women are still around, like either they're, maybe don't have a family yet and they just need to support themselves. And maybe when they are moms and what they can do to not have fear around this, because it's just really easy. And then to take care of yourself. And that means for the future, UTIs, all that. So this conversation happens today. It's just one piece of the equation, but it's so powerful because there's ways to boost it. And so maybe we could talk about that. So over to you, Jojo.
Thank you. There's so much just like in that little space. And it makes me know that we need to really have a microbiome conversation that lasts longer than a few minutes, which is what we have left, right? So I wrote that down because I'm adding that into our lineup for what's coming, because to really understand what happens when we're born and lots of stuff there. So we got to go back to that conversation. But and we were talking about how over the holidays we eat bad food. No, just me? Is it just me? I'm the only one who ate bad food. So I'm like, I'll be the only one. That's okay. I totally did. So ate bad food, have a little bit of family stress around, even though, our exercises were to see only the good in the people around us. Sometimes it's a little harder than we want it to be. And so the stress and the bad food and the other people that are around us that are sick. But when you look at how the bad food causes the inflammation and it starts to break down, we're not feeding our body the right enzymes. So our own bacteria aren't being fed correctly. All of these things come into play and it drops our immune system. So as soon as somebody comes along who has a little bit of a sniffle, we do not have that first line of defense that we normally would have, especially if we're doing something really good. So no question, there are several things that I do myself that help keep me safe. So I neti pot. I don't know if anybody else neti pots, but I definitely keep myself, and you have to be careful with water you use, and it has to be clean, and there's things around that. But I definitely use a neti pot to keep my sinuses clean. And not only that, I notice that when I am regular about doing that, especially if anybody's been in Las Vegas and understands our air here, there are things that blow around here that make your head, right? But sinuses, we're constantly dealing with allergies. We're constantly dealing with things that are blowing around in our air. We have people who move here who've never had allergies before, and all of a sudden they're like, what is this? So neti pot helps keep that clean for me. And I know it looks scary and it looks intense, and if nobody's ever done it before, it really isn't as bad as it seems. And I have this really cool one that's electric, and it kind of shoots it up there. It takes really the whole thing lasts 20 seconds. It's really quick. And so anyway, that's just the first thought for that. And I also take a really good probiotic to keep myself, to keep my good bacteria flowing. But there are a couple of things that I do that are inside of the system that we use. And one of them is a mixture of colostrum and zinc. So do you guys know what colostrum is? And so colostrum is really that first nutritious meal that a baby gets in the first 3 days of breastfeeding after being born. Well, our company has created a really great one that helps to support our immune function. I combine that with our really amazing vitamin C. And I'm telling you, like Neti Pot, vitamin C, and Isommune for me, it has been the 1, 2, 3 punch to help me stay well. And we've just included something new, which is an immune support that has beta-glucans in it. So I don't know, do you want to chat about beta-glucans a little bit? Because they're pretty interesting little things. Has anybody heard of that word before, beta-glucans? It's kind of the new buzz thing, but there's such really good science behind it. I kind of put you on the spot with that one. Do you feel like you can talk to that, or because?
Oh, are you talking to me, JoJo?
Yeah, you, Lindy.
Here's what I'm going to say about that. I think that would be a great homework assignment. Go Google beta-glucans, because you know what? There's nothing like actually going to the Google and actually just having your own epiphany aha moment. And I just think, JoJo, that would just be so powerful. And you know what? Just a word like that, if you actually just went to your friends and said, have you heard of beta-glucans? And just even know the colostrum and know that there's like something that you can spray in your mouth for sore throats and all of that. Here's a way just to boost it. I mean, so I carry it in my purse, I think about like, children or grandchildren or somebody actually just got like a little something going on because of the ears, nose, throat, all combined. That's your, area to really properly address it from the very beginning. That's so powerful. And then you talked about probiotics and prebiotics, and to have them in a fiber product is critical. So to have that combination, kind of it escorts, delivery is different. So to pull the garbage out of the colon, and then you can pull the garbage out of your lymphatic system, you can go down that pathway and say, these are days to start to think about what's going on with abnormal cell replication. So garbage out is your immune boosting process. So thank you. Back to you, JoJo.
No, thank you. So does anybody know of any of these things or have used them? Has anybody else used an Neti Pot besides me? Anybody loving it? Not loving it? Some people go, My husband even loves it, believe it or not. He was kind of feeling crazy too. Sinus rinse. Oh, interesting. So, there's lots of different ways out there. There's different products out there that you can get that actually are air compressed. There's different ones out there. That's just the one that I choose to use. I use I don't know what it is. I can't think of Dr. Neal's or something. I don't know. I use his Neti Pot and always use distilled water. And I have actually, if anybody has an alkaline machine that also can make acid water, I've started using a little bit more acidity because it kills bacteria. So if I'm still really feeling not so good. So if anybody has access to an alkaline machine, check into using the acidic side for that. So just thoughts. But so inflammation, obviously we know that good nutrition is going to support us to help feed our immune system. But so important. Go ahead.
I'm just thinking also about gargling. Gargling with salt water can really help. And what salt does is actually pulls the toxins. So you can pull the toxins and inflammation out. And that's another thought. Warm water instead of cold water is important because it actually opens up membrane, opens up the pore. If it is you're going to take a bath, think about some Dead Sea salt. There's some wonderful ways to detox. So the whole entire body can be boosted with just those simple processes. So pull it out.
And something that the kids could do that would be easy also. But that's why I love the Isommune, because you can spray them really easily every single day and keep them healthy. But here's a thought. So if you have youngy ones going to school and they keep coming home sick, it is not my favorite thing to do is to use antibacterial anything. But I will caveat that with my niece teaches elementary school. And she, not only did the kids get sick constantly, but she was coming home sick constantly. So what we started, I read a study about teachers who have the children wipe down their desks and chairs every day at the end of the day with an antibacterial wipe, and how much the sickness had gone down. So we did a little experiment of our own, and no question, we saw a decrease in how the kids were getting sick. So every day at the end of the day, they went and got an antibacterial wipe out of thing, wiped their desk down, wiped their chair off, washed their hands, and went home. And that's how they left their classroom. And we saw that not only her sickness, which was good, but all the kids were getting sick less. So honestly, I recommend staying away as much as possible from things that are constantly antibacterial. Our bodies have to learn how to create their own defenses. If we're constantly doing antibacterial stuff, our bodies never learn how to do that. Remember when when we were kids, our mom said, it's okay if you eat dirt. Like some kids just ate dirt. Potentially that was actually the correct thing to do, was to help build our immune systems up. Liddy?
Yes, I would love to say something about that, JoJo, as well. In terms of a germicide, there's some wonderful green companies out there with germicide, and I would encourage that. And then there are some companies, so antibacterial, remember all those little pumps like antibacterial, like soap or whatever, that is so toxic. It is got an alcohol base, and right now, if you want to go Google something, go Google antibacterial sanitizers on Google. It is so flammable, and they're calling it the no ID high, the no ID high. And kids are actually literally drinking this in high schools, and there are kids that are dying in some of these urban cities and so on. Yes, so it's a great awareness, and there's a company that I know that has created a product that has got like cinnamon flavor and like a mint flavor and so on, odor, but it's all clean, and it stays on their hands for 10 washings after they put it on there. So all day long, as they're washing their hands and putting their hands in their mouth and where they're going with their hands, is not like taking this on. So, when you put this product on your hands, it is alcohol, so it opens the pores. It exposes them to more problems, more germs. I mean, you talk about opening up a can of worms. That's opening up a can of worms. So get it out of your house. It's flammable. And if you're thinking about, candles, where you light your candles sometimes in the kitchen, like next to some of this stuff, you just got to take a look at that. It is higher alcohol content than some alcohol you can buy in the liquor store. And we don't need an ID to buy that. So go Google that one. That's another fun one to educate your kids on. So you're going to take it out of your house. Take germicides and use everything as a germicide. And then go educate the teachers, because they don't even know what's going on in the bathrooms.
What's it called, Liddy? What's it called?
You Google antibacterial hand sanitizers, and it's called the No ID High. I mean, that's a campaign all by yourself in terms of like helping your kids build an immune system. But if it is that you want to get an education, that's a good one. And I happen to know of a company that I was at the Capitol here, and they were talking about that and campaigning that around the senators and governors and all that. So I just kind of had a new awakening, and that there's actually ways to be able to go and clean up waterways today, all of that. So it's very exciting. There are alternatives. So
is there, do you know like a name of one of the alternatives or what it's called? So it's called more of a germicide than an antibacterial?
You know what? Just let me just think about this for a second. I have to go probably to my email and see. Maybe I can bring that up next time.
Okay.
Maybe
we
I
can
have, yeah, let's just do that next time.
Can I share something that I heard the other day?
You bet.
Interesting. My friend's dad works at a grocery store, and he's has to be up to code. Like, he's the manager of the meat department, and so he's always happened to stay up on like outbreaks and things like that. And he said that there was a study done, and I'm not sure how long ago it was, but this family had like the flu was going around, and this whole family hadn't gotten sick. And I guess what they were doing, the doctor, I'm probably butchering the story. The doctor went into their home to figure out what was going, like how it was that they weren't getting it. And I guess they had like taken an onion and cut both ends off an onion and put it in every room of the house. And so when this doctor came and they told him what they were doing, he went and couldn't figure it out. And he studied the onion, and all of the flu bacteria was in the onion. I don't know quite what it was about it, but the onion absorbs it. And he said that also, like if you've got pneumonia, you can put an onion like next to like the bed of someone who's sick, and like by the morning the onion will be black and full of I don't know, but it draws that out. So kind of crazy. I don't know how real it is, but I thought, hey, I'll cut an onion up and put it in every room of my house if it keeps us from getting the flu. But I thought that was really crazy that there are such powerful things we have around us all the time. This is Jackson.
Yes. Hey, Jackson. So you know what? I'm going to say that is actually accurate. And white onions actually have more of an antibacterial property than any other onion. And one more thing I was going to say about that. Yeah.
So I will say, so if you're going to use an onion in your kitchen, once you've cut it, if you do not use the whole thing, it's got to go. No leaving it in the fridge. No putting it in the little onion thing. No, it's got to go.
Yes. And so, Jojo, having said that, after I heard that like years ago, here's what I thought about. Oh my gosh, look at all these parks that actually have these barbecues, and they have these chopped onions for like putting on your brats and burgers and all that. And I'm like, oh my God, look at this. I mean, it's attracting all this stuff, and you're putting that on your food?
So we actually,
like making me crazy.
In our company a couple of years ago, we brought in a toxicologist, and she worked for NASA and was teaching us about toxicity. And so the two things that stuck with me, I mean, there was lots of things, but two things that have stuck with me forever was the onion thing, but also the second thing was iceberg lettuce. The iceberg lettuce absorbs every toxin in the air. So just imagine going into a restaurant and having a salad full of iceberg lettuce and all of the toxicity it has come. Yeah, I know everybody's like, oh, but okay, so no more iceberg lettuce ever.
Salad bars.
Yeah, no, ew. So that will also help you keep extra toxins out of your system. Who knows what that absorbs, but ever since I can't stop thinking about it.
Jojo and Liddy, it's Amy in Minnesota.
Hey, Amy, how are you?
Hey.
Good. Is it a good opportunity to share the anti-infection drink recipe that you have? Because we use it quite a bit. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so anti-infection drink. Amy, do you have it in front of you at the moment?
I can find it, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
Well,
I should have found it first.
This is an anti-infection drink, while you're looking for it, Amy, that actually will take care of any, let's call it, urinary tract infection. The older that we get, the more difficult it becomes, because the colonies of the yeast is so great that you cannot just get rid of this infection. And my mom having to be put on an antibiotic, and then she went on another antibiotic because it wasn't strong enough, and then it was another antibiotic, and it was just like, no, you're killing my mom. And you get to a point where you just like watch them on this journey, and I said, stop. No, she's now being cathetered. Now we've got that going on. I'm going to tell you something. It was just like, how are we going to do this? And I called somebody that's a dear friend of mine, and he is over the top kind of a healer. And he said, write this down. So that began this whole kind of like cleanup conversation. And so a conversation about the anti-infection drink, I call it, every 3 days you take this formula, and it's white onions and lemons and ginger, water. Amy, if you got it, I'm still scrolling myself.
Well, I just about have it memorized though. So, and I usually make half at a time. So half a recipe, I believe, is very close to this. It's a whole lemon. You peel the lemon, okay, and I cut it in sections. I'm going to put this in a little blender. I'm going to have about a half a cup of water, maybe less, because actually less water makes less of this stuff you have to drink, but that's okay. So it's got the lemon. And then we do about a half teaspoon of ginger powder, some essential oil, lemon oil drops, about 3, and a clove of garlic. So I chop that up even before putting it in the blender. And the onion, like about a tablespoon of chopped white onion. So I'm believing that's all of the ingredients. And I just whip that up. And when I make it for my mother, it's like there's a lot of pulp there. So I strain out the pulp, and then she doesn't like the taste. So I kind of eat the pulp along with her, trying to bypass my taste buds. But you can really, you just feel like there's just power in that and what it's giving you. And it says in the directions there to have it, morning and night, once every 3 days. So, and it can help with brain detoxification, etc.
Here it is. 1 cup of water. And Amy gave you half. So it's 2 lemons peeled. And sometimes I just cut the peel off and leave some of the white on because that's good. 7 drops of lemon oil. 2 garlic cloves. 1 teaspoon ginger powder. And 2 to 3 tablespoons of white onions chopped. Put all in a blender till smooth and drink every 3 days. Will detoxify the brain, half in the morning and half in the afternoon. And that thing has worked on every single person. Doesn't matter how challenged that they are, it works like a charm. So, did everybody get that?
Yeah.
It actually sounds tasty to me. So am I kind of crazy that I think it sounds like it would taste good?
I actually like it.
The onions give it quite a bite, but yeah.
So awesome. And we'll post that up in the we'll post that up in the Facebook page so it's there. And so that's awesome. Well, that's a great way to close out tonight. So there's our health recipe. We're actually over time. So to keep it at time. Thank you all for all of your input. Liddy, thank you so much. And Amy, thanks for hopping in with the recipe. That was a great idea. And, so many good things. So, and we will, so Google projects, Betaglucans and antibacterial sanitizer. So we'll do some posts up in the Facebook page and get that out there. And we'll also put that recipe up there too. So, all right. Thank you all. Big kisses to all of you. Big thank you to Liddy.
Mwah. Love you.
Love you guys. Good night, everyone.
And every Thursday we have this call. So bring on your friends, and we'll have another conversation next week and take this to the next level. Love you. And you can recommend subject matter. All right.
Always.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.